critique is so limiting and emotionally draining. Happy EEKtober, everybody. We are doing 31 days of scary movies, and today is day 19. I am your host, Melissa Forziat. I'm a keynote speaker, and when I speak, my topic is something that I call Take the Doughnut, which is another way to say carpe diem. And it's all about, going after the things that you want in life. It stems from this strange thing that happened to me in college where I left an actual donut on a table and it became an object lesson, what it looks like to leave opportunities behind. So now I want to take the donut. From time to time, I'll issue myself a Take the Doughnut challenge. I'll say there's something that I want to do. I'll make it official, and I'll hold myself accountable to going after it. And this time, I'm opening up a Take the Doughnut challenge for anybody who wants to join. And here we are, 31 days of scary movies. And yes, today is day 19. We're going to talk about Velvet Buzzsaw from 2019. This one, I always list what subgenres I've put it into, but this, you could go on forever. I mean, art horror, I've heard that described in a bunch of different ways: dark art, supernatural, comedy, slasher, satire, for sure. There's so many different buckets you can put this film into. It was directed and written by Dan Gilroy. It stars Jake Gyllenhaal as Morph Vanderwalt, Renee Russo as Redora Hayes, Zaw Ashton as Josephina, Tom Sturridge as John Don Don, Toni Collette as Gretchen, Natalia Dyer as Coco, Daveed Diggs as Damrish, John Malkovich as Pierce, Billy Magnuson as Bryson. I mean, it's just an incredible cast. Also worth noting that Dan Gilroy also wrote and directed Nightcrawler, which Jake Gyllenhaal and Renee Russo were both in as well. And I love that movie. It's not on this list, but it's a really good one. So yeah, this one is just fun. I feel like this is a movie you would like if you liked Scream. There's a self-awareness to the film. There's an absurdity to the film that feels very resemblant of that. And it's just I describe this film as art kills people in the style of the art, and you kind of have to see it to get it. They take a little while with their setup, but I really enjoy this film so much. Jake Gyllenhaal in this film cracks me up. And the dialogue, the writing, the things they give him to say, just it's so good. There's so many quotable lines from Jake Gyllenhaal in this film. And the inventiveness of the deaths, it's just wild to me where they take these death scenes. And I look at some of the other films on my list, and films like The Collector or even Black Christmas, you get some inventive deaths in other films as well that are on the 31 days of scary movies list. But this one, I mean, with art, the art world as a backdrop, they could take this to places that you wouldn't normally be able to do. And it all works in the context of this film. And it's also a message film. I think it's ultimately trying to say something about the economics of art. And so it's putting a point out there, and it does it in for me, a really fun way. Let's get into the scenes themselves. We're going to start with the opening credits. We're going to get artistic drawings of the plot itself. So it sort of spoils itself through the credits, but not enough to tell you exactly what's happening. And even if it did, you still have to watch it to see it play out. We are going to open up at the Miami Beach Convention Center. Morph is the first character we're going to see. He walks into a convention. He passes the VIP lane, so he's super special. There he walks past an installation that says, "There's no confusion in my house," but there's going to be confusion in everybody's house in this movie. Morph is going to see Hobo Man for the first time, which is also how he will meet his end. Hobo Man's saying, has a sign that says "Will work for food." He says things like, "Have you ever felt invisible? Once I built a railroad. I can save you." He says things like this. Hobo Man gets right into Morph's face, and they're looking each other straight in the eyes, and Morph's kind of unimpressed. He's seen things like this before. It's an unoriginal iteration of something else he has seen. He's a critic. Okay. We're going to find out right away he is a critic. And people are asking him for good reviews. In fact, somebody is going to ask him for a good review that's about to get a bad review from him. We're going to meet some more characters. We're going to see Josephina. She is talking on the phone with Coco, who is going to be the perpetual assistant of everybody and then right before they die. The running gag with that character is so fun. But Josephina comes in. Coco's like, yeah, I got some information for you. Ricky's cheating on you. You know, your boyfriend, Ricky, the artist. She's got information for everybody, that Coco. Josephina reels at this. She gets into this art exhibit, and she's just gonna be crying on the way in. John Don Don sees Morph. We have to meet him as well. I love this character name. Morph's got a rumor for the whole beginning of the film that he wants to substantiate. He's hearing that the artist Pierce is leaving Redora for John Don Don. John's like, gotta ask Pierce. I can't say. So Gretchen is another person in this movie. She's going to approach Morph, and she's the curator at the museum. They comment on a Pierce piece, and she wants to get some tips on what to buy from the museum. For the museum, I should say. And Morph is like, what are you even talking about? I don't do tips. So Morph is now going to see Josephina, who is devastated because she just found out her boyfriend's cheating on her. Morph is going to ask her, like he asks everybody, is Pierce switching galleries? She's like, I don't know. I'm worried about my stuff. Redora is now going to approach Morph. And, you know, this is going to be an important relationship for the duration of the film. He's so impressed by the color on her wall. She's like, well, I'm sick of white spaces. She shows him a Menkins piece, Sphere. It wasn't in the catalog. He is mesmerized by it. It creates a unique sensation for each person based on whatever hole they explore. So it's certainly got a sexual vibe to it. And it's just a big sphere in the middle of the room with a bunch of holes. Morph's like, it's groundbreaking. He's going to post the first review on this. He's very excited. Redora is saying, you know, it's so much easier to talk about money than art. You know, every now and then we need to get a pithy line just to make sure this stays a satire. Morph is saying, okay, so here I'm talking to you, Redora. Is Pierce leaving you to go to John Don Don? She is evasive. Okay, we're going to go to an after party. Pierce is going to be approached by John Don Don, the very person that we've been wondering about. Morph and Josephina are going to chat, and you know, Ricky is still denying cheating. She's upset. Morph's ready to swoop in. They've had something in the past, Morph and Josephina, maybe a one night thing, maybe a short stint of a thing, but Morph never let it go. He kind of has had an eye on Josephina all this time. He's like, maybe it'll free you up for new things. I mean, there could be something good about this. And by the way, I'm having second thoughts about Ed, his boyfriend. Okay, we're going to get a conversation between Redora and another artist, Damrish, who she loves his work. He's being courted by a collective, and he would be a big get for that collective. And he's like, yeah, oh, you're Redora. I've heard you're the one to watch out for. Going, you know, I've heard about you going all the way back to your punk days, Velvet Buzzsaw, you know? I heard the early stuff was great and then it became a self-parody. Yeah, I mean, yet again, you know, like, isn't that the way art goes, says this movie. Damrish is showing in the collective. He's saying a polite no, but she's like, but I would really like to exhibit you. And Damrish is like, yeah, well, I turned down John Don Don. Why would I say yes to you? She's like, yeah, well, I'm the one here talking with you. John Don Don's over there talking to somebody else. So she is going to get Damrish to say yes. Meanwhile, what's John Don Don doing? He's hard selling Pierce. He wants to represent Pierce. He wants to steal Pierce out from under Redora. He wants to represent him in his work. Pierce is like, I want to create. I don't want to be doing business. He's lost his inspiration since he stopped drinking, so that's not good. Josephina is going to leave to go to a grunge show. Morph's like, I'm coming. He's not letting this opportunity slip by. He says they have a taste relationship. Well, that's nice. After the show, Morph and Josephina are still together, and they were together once. They're going to be together again. They hook up. Short stint of this relationship too. I hate to tell you, Morph. We are going to see a hairless cat staring into a pool. It's Redora's. She is on her phone. She's in a home in a very remote location, but a beautiful one on a cliffside overlooking a gorgeous view. She's making some business notes. We see her velvet buzzsaw tattoo on the back of her neck / like upper shoulders. Morph is on his laptop naked. Just Jake Gyllenhaal, the choices we make for these roles, I guess. Okay, he says he's writing up a critique. When his boyfriend Ed comes over, he says he's writing up a critique. Ed's going to go swim. Morph's not going to join him because what he's really doing is looking at pictures of Josephina, pining for her. Josephina goes to her apartment and finds a man dead. Now, it's amazing. Like this feels like some sort of like a Dickens novel. We've introduced so many characters and sort of like set up some relationships here before we really get to the meat and bones of the plot. We have to get Vedral Dees here somehow. So here it is. Josephina finds this man dead in her apartment building. And we'll leave that there for a moment. Redora is going to go to her gallery and finds out Josephina's late because she's dealing with a dead man in her apartment building. So she's going to reassign some of those duties to Coco, who she calls Rococo, because it feels appropriate for what they do, but it's not her name. So she's like, yeah, you go get the phone instead. Bryson, the installer, is there, and he's an installer with dreams of something bigger. He knows his stuff. He's done the research. He's got more skills than just being an installer, and people need to know that. Morph is on the phone. He is trying to get confirmation. He's gotten confirmation that Pierce has left her for John Don Don. She's like, it's okay, I'm signing new talent. Demriche, Myrtilla Splood. They have some fun names here. He's like, you know what? I love your taste. We're so in sync. That's weird. We're going to find out later it's not so weird. It's very much by Redora's design. Josephina finally arrives at the office, but she's late. But she's late for a really good reason. And Redora's like, not good enough for me. My interest in you is waning. Get it together. She says, I'm moving you off the front. In fact, no client-facing anything for you until you get your act together. So Josephina is gonna, she's having a bad day or two. She's gonna go back to her apartment. She's drinking. She's gonna get some mail. She's gonna find the name of the guy who died, Vedral Dees. She's like, anybody check in on a cat who's up there? There's a man who's telling her, nope, but we'll keep an eye out for it. And yeah, the instructions from Vedral Dees were to throw everything away without a trace. Like apparently Vedral started to do that himself before he died and then didn't make it to the end. So Josephina goes back to her apartment, but she hears the cat upstairs. She's like, well, make sure the cat's okay. She goes into Dees's apartment and he is quite the hoarder. He's got a lot of stuff in here. So much art. Some of it was burned in the fire, or he attempted to burn it in the fire before he died. She sees a portrait on an easel, and painting in the fireplace starts to burn by itself, which is a red flag for sure. There are dark, very dark art pieces all over the apartment. We see the eyes of a portrait that we looked at before following her. I mean, it's a creepy space and there's some creepy art in it. We're gonna get a little jump scare with her finding his cat. She takes the cat and then she starts looking at some of the rolled up paintings. And she's going to swipe a bunch of stuff. So Josephina is going to meet up with Morph. They're going to get coffee. Morph he wants to talk about them. I want to talk about us. He says, Miami was a revelation. He says, I feel good with you. Josephina's like, yeah. Not what we're here for. She shows him the art pieces from Vedral Dees, and he is astonished. They're visionary, mesmeric, he says. A marvelous mix of mediums. He thinks there's a market for it. He's like, who is this and who represents them? She doesn't answer the first question, but she says, I represent this artist. So we are going to see another art exhibit that we're put right into it, and it looks like a family watching a lottery number picking on the TV. And then we see Redora walking through it. So it's a life-size exhibit, and she's in there checking it out as it's being installed. She's not as happy with it now as she was before. We're going to see the person who runs the collective, a guy named Ben. He's going to come in and he's going to be very aggressive or assertive with Redora. He's like, I represent Damrish. I run the collective. She's like, that's not a thing. People don't run collectives, do they? He threatens her and she gets right in his face and threatens him right back. And Coco runs in. She's like, I tried to stop him. Redora's like, yeah, and you failed. Coco, she's in her office. She's in the office now. She's in the bathroom crying. Josephine is going to go check on her. And while Josephina is otherwise occupied, Bryson gets a look at some of those Deeses that Josephina has, and he is amazed by them. He's like, look, I do more than maintenance. This talks to me, he says to Josephina. He wants to know who does these pieces. Now we're going to see Gretchen. Morph is reviewing the exhibit, and he asks her about Ventral Dees while he's there. She hasn't heard of him. She's never heard this name before. And Gretchen gives him some news. She's going to leave the role at the museum, the Contemporary Museum of Art of LA or something like that. She's going to leave her role at the museum to be a private art advisor for a rich client. And he's so excited for her. This is going to make her really good money. She's going to be able to really make a difference for this person's life. She's going to be able to get some things done with less red tape for sure. And she's going to use this for leverage during the film. She's actively looking for purchases for the new client. So she is prepared to give Morph an under-the-table commission for just like the pre-review suggestions on what might be good to buy. He's like, I don't do that. He is insulted. He assesses out of adoration. He furthers the realm he analyzes. Oh, Morph, it's so good. Josephina is in her apartment, which is now filled with Dees paintings. I mean, she poached them all. Redora comes in, she sees the painting. She's like, ah, yes, I heard as much. She says, so the thing is, you signed a non-compete with me. It's a rather comprehensive non-compete. So tell me a bit about our work with Ventral Dees here. She's like, no. Redora says, you're in over your head with this. Look, there's cataloging, there's archiving, there's monetizing all of this. Like, how about this? Instead of us doing the whole lawsuit thing, how about we both become rich and successful from this, famous and successful, in fact. I'll just help you for a percentage. Seems like a good deal, right? Josephine is going to agree to this. Not really sure which other way Josephina can go. We're going to get a scene of Josephina talking with Redora's lawyers, trying to establish, yeah, Josephina is the rightful owner of this work so that they can make a business out of it. Morph and Redora are going to be looking at a painting, and Morph says, critique is so limiting and emotionally draining. He can do so much more. He wants to start researching Ventral Dees. He's really inspired by that work. He wants to get in on the ground floor of this very exciting artist. He would like to do the exhibit brochure, and he wants exclusive rights to do a book, and he wants several art pieces. She says, all of that sounds good. Great. So we've got a team of people together who can push this work, this collection of paintings. We're going to see a curator, a scientist, who's inspecting pigment on a Dees painting as it starts to bleed. Gives us all some pause, doesn't it? We're going to see Coco, who's now answering phones for the Hayes Gallery. She overhears Redora having a conversation with somebody on the phone about Dees. Yeah, okay, so he was in a mental institution, but nobody knows that. Look, just destroy the info. It's fine. I'll pay you extra to get rid of all the negative press about Dees. Coco's gathering information left and right around here. Morph has a Dees on his wall, and he's starting to write about Ventral, and he's telling us some of the story of Ventral Dees. This guy survived a suspicious house fire in 1939. He had an abusive father. He was placed in an orphanage. There was a lot of mystery at that orphanage about what was happening in his life. He disappeared for 3 decades and he resurfaces on the payroll as a janitor for 42 years at a veterans institution. He lived alone. He battled personal demons. It's all an epic saga of violence and madness. So this is what he's researched and this is what he's putting together. Josephina reads it and loves it. It's just the right amount of curiosity to pique the attention of the people who would go see the collection. Morph and Josephina have been hooking up. They've got an arrangement going on. She tells him about her ex-boyfriend Ricky's upcoming exhibition. And wouldn't you just go to it and maybe do a bad review of him for me? Which, you know, based on what he said to Gretchen earlier, he's not about this, but he's going to do it for Josephina. We're going to get Morph and other people looking at a Dees exhibit, and there's a little bit of a different style that we see here. We're going to get like a bunch of pictures within the picture that come up so we can watch all these other people looking at the Dees paintings. We're going to get everybody's talking up Dees and really like trying to promote the pieces. Rojora's story is it wasn't a prolific output, although we know soon after this that it actually was. Gretchen comes in, she's advising for a private buyer, and it's the same person who bought Sphere, who's her private buyer. She's interested in some of the large format paintings. Rojora's like, you know, there's hardly any pieces. Everything's on reserve, but I could potentially sell you 2Ds if you'll also buy some Damriche works. So all this negotiation going on, and what these pieces actually are doesn't seem to matter. And, you know, when I think about how I've bought art for myself, it's very much like, oh, this piece, this is the one that I need. It's not about the artist. It's about the piece itself is the one that I connect to. And so the fact that the way they wheel and deal around here is they're just like, this artist has done a bunch of stuff. You want 5 of them? Cool. Is just so, it's so much like about the numbers and so little about the art itself. And I'm sure that's the point they're trying to make here. So Piers arrives. He stands next to Damriche. The artists here are floored by Dees's work. They're like, oh God, this is what we're up against. Somebody didn't like Morph's critique of them. You know, sometimes he does harsh critiques. And Morph is like, it is what it is. People need to get over it. It's fine. And the people who are conveying this information are like, yeah, that's rather flippant given that this guy crashed his car. Ricky, who was Josephina's ex, crashed his car and was crushed by your review. And it wasn't even a review that he wanted to do. Like Morph was just doing it for Josephina. It turns out we're going to find out later, he actually liked Ricky's work. So this is going to really impact him. Meanwhile, Rodora is having Bryson move a whole bunch of Dees paintings to storage because she wants to make it look like they have very little inventory so that they can hike up the prices. So they maybe have about 1,000, but she's going to say maybe about half that actually. So he's driving out to the storage unit, but you know, he likes the work. So he's going to steal a couple for himself. He's going to grab a few out of a box. He's going to put them next to him in his truck. And as he's driving, the face in one of the top portraits moves and he's smoking and somehow he ends up completely lit on fire. His whole shirt is lit on fire and it's burned his chest. And you know the painting had something to do with it. So he's now trying to put this fire out. He's burnt and hurting a lot. And a gas station is very close by. It's completely dark, but as it sees him coming, all the lights go on because probably something to do with the paintings and the spirit in the paintings. We're going to see a man in his rearview mirror watching him, which also scares Bryson, who will crash into the gas station. And now an entire box of Dees paintings gets lit on fire. He's trying to put that out. Okay, that problem seems to be done. He runs into the gas station, the empty gas station that doesn't look like anybody's been there in a long time. He finds a sink, he turns it on, he starts to try to cool himself off. And over the sink is a painting with a bunch of monkeys who start to move. And then they reach for him and they grab him and they pull him into the painting. And that, my friends, is the end of Bryson. Pretty cool death. So John Don is going to ring for Pierce because he wants to see, like, he just acquired this artist and he wants to see what he's been working on. Turns out Pierce hasn't been doing all that much. And that Pierce shows him through the first level to get up to where he's actually working in his studio. John Don's like, this is where the magic happens. Pierce is like, are you kidding? This is where we do the replicas and the repos. Once again, satire, like, the magic might not be in the economic part of this. It might be in the creation of the art itself. But we go up to where Pierce is actually creating the art. It's his new studio. He has just been here to try to get some inspiration. And there's almost nothing here. There's like a basketball hoop. There's a bunch of trash, which John Don thinks is art, but it is not. And there's one painting on an easel, which has a red and blue blob on it. And Don's like, surely this is just part of the process. But this is it. This is what Pierce has done recently. Sorry, you lose. Okay, so we're gonna get a tow truck taking Bryson's car away. Rodor and Josephina have been called in and they're inspecting the car and they're hoping they're gonna see a whole bunch of D's in there, but it seems like maybe the car's been vandalized is what they're told. Like maybe a whole bunch of people, maybe some homeless people found the car and they started taking the art. I don't know, but there's no art in the car. So the question is, did Bryson steal the art and just run away? That's what Rodor thinks that's what happened, because what other explanation could there be? Meanwhile, Morph and Josephina are prepping for a fundraiser. Morph is, now that you're here, Josephina, I've been cataloging things for the book that I'm doing about Dees, and something's not adding up. There are time gaps in his work. There's no sketches. There's no studies. Like, is this everything? She's like, of course it's everything. Yeah, for sure. It is now. So Don Gallery, let's go over there. We're going to see an exhibit that they're working on, another one of those sort of like life-size room exhibits it's a projector in an attic. It's basically somebody's attic, and we've got a projector in there that plays home movies. Coco is there to apply for a position, which John Don does not want to hire her because she's too young. But then he's like, wait, you worked with Rodora, didn't you? She says, I sure did. And I've got some information that may be helpful to you. He's like, wait, because you were there for the D's opening. She's like, yeah, I could tell you some things. He's like, okay, you're hired. We're going to see Gretchen at the Contemporary Art Museum of LA. That's the name. She's negotiating with the people she used to work with. She's playing hardball. She's like, I can get you. Look, I know you've got a different exhibit coming up, but I have a private client who really wants to show off her D's. So here's the deal. I can supply you with 2 D's paintings and more from the Hayes Gallery. And I want these exhibited right away. And the guys at the museum are like, that's not how things work. She's like, I think it is, because I believe that you probably also want to do, some touring exhibits, and I can help supply you with things. By the way, we also need to include Mencken's sphere in the exhibit. And if you don't want to say yes to this, because all these artists are so hot right now, I'll just take them to another museum. And the workers, they're going to say yes very reluctantly. She is driving a hard bargain. Meanwhile, Morph's doing more research on Dees. He goes to Sawtell Veterans Hospital site. He finds a worker who just flat out does not want to talk about Dees. He used to work with him for 18 years. He's like, yeah, there was a guy who wasn't so nice to Dees. That guy ended up dead. We all left him alone. That's what we did. And I am going to not talk to you either. I'm not talking to you or the other guy. Morph's like, what other guy? He's going to hand him the card of a private investigator. And we are now going to see that private investigator talking to Don. Don has been getting all the dirt on Bertrand Dees so that he can get in advance of any good press with some really negative press. He wants to try to trash the opening of this exhibit. So he wants to bring everything he learns to the press tomorrow. And what did he learn? Things like this guy had a breakdown after he was in the army. He tracked down his dad and tortured and killed him. Then he went to a mental hospital for a good long time, and experiments were done on him. The hospital was closed, and that's why Deese was released, not because he was better. And then he went off the grid. Don Don's like, this'll do it. But he doesn't get a chance to bring this to the press because as he's locking up, the projector exhibit is going to turn on by itself. When he goes to check it out, the film burns and sort of melts itself. The doors close on him. He can't get out. The light starts flickering. He goes to grab it, and a hand from above reaches down and grabs his tie and strangles him and hangs him from it. Yep, it's not a good end that John Don Don comes to. Next day, Coco's going to show up for work, and she's going to find him dead, strangled, hanging from an art exhibit. We're going to go to the funeral for John Don Don. He was a lovely man. Morph and Josephina are making fun of the color. Well, mostly Morph is making fun of the color scheme. Damriche sits next to them. Josephina introduces herself, and she is effusive about being a fan of Damriche. She's the one who does the Deese collection. He's like, it's otherworldly. An artist comes up to tell Morph that he killed that person's collection with the review. The same guy from the beginning who was asking for a good review got an obviously very bad one. Morph says, I am not your mouthpiece. He's insulted by people continuing to presume that they can influence his reviews. So Redora says to Pierce, you know, look, I competed with this guy, but I never wish something like this. I mean, suicide? They think it's suicide. They're sitting in the friends and family section, and they flat out won't move because that's how important they think they are. Now we're going to see Josephina and Morph are having sex in front of a Deese, and the Deese reaches out and tries to grab Morph, and he backs off. He's very scared. He's seeing things. This is not the first time he's seeing things, and he's just freaked out about it. Josephina is like, you know, I'm losing interest in you, man. You're talking to Ed, your ex. I've been told by Gretchen. Your reviews are falling off. Morph's like, look, you made me pan Ricky's exhibit, and I actually liked it. And then he crashed. It's a fight. May very well be the end of them, almost. They haven't made that official, but it really is official. Redora is going to see Pierce's new artwork. He wants her feedback on it. She's like, yeah, it's not good. What are you afraid of at this point? She's like, you know what? Here's the deal. You should just go away, take some time for yourself until you are ready to do work that's just for you and not for everybody else around you. Go use my beach house. Thank goodness Pierce gets away from all of this because he's going to survive in this film. Morph has been seeing things, so he's going to go to the eye doctor, but it turns out his eyes are fine. But since the guy dilated his eyes, he has to wear these paper sunglasses or just glasses to keep the light out for a little while. So Morph is going to go to the garage to his car. He's going to call Gretchen angry. Love this scene. He's like, you told Josephina I'm still with Ed. He's so angry. He's like, I want an apology. And she's not going to apologize. She's pissed at him for not helping her. And so he shuts the door of his car while he's inside it, and he's shouting, but his voice is muffled because of the car being sealed. So he's yelling at her so loudly, and she's like, oh yeah, well, Josephina and Damriche are together right now. I'm watching them get into their car. He throws the phone. Jake Gyllenhaal is so big and fun in this film. And they just gave him the coolest dialogue. He's going to go to the curator, to the scientist who was working on inspecting the pigment. And he's like, yeah, so I'm working on a Deese book. I think you have some information you can share. She's like, well, what I was doing was studying his methodology, which was weird. Okay. So it was a little hard to delineate between the working materials and the personal effects. He's like, what personal effects? She's like, blood. That's what was in the paintings. It was like all of the reddish blacks in the paintings had a bit of his blood in them. So Gretchen, we're going to get Gretchen talking to those museum folks again. So apparently the deal that she had proposed happened. It's the night before the opening of the exhibit. with the Dees works, the Minkins piece, and some of the other stuff that she was curating. And they are putting up Sphere right now. They're fixing up the lighting. She's continuing to negotiate with them for a traveling exhibit. She wants to put up a whole Minkin show. She is playing hardball with them. They leave. She's going to stay behind. Coco is now working with her as an assistant because, it didn't work out with John Don Don after all. Gretchen says, okay, you can go home, get a couple hours of sleep before the opening tomorrow. And we're going to see Gretchen go over and look at Sphere, which is still lit up. She's fascinated by it. She goes to it. The Dees paintings all start to look at her. We see Gretchen's face through one of the holes in Sphere, and then she puts her arm in and it's grabbed by something and severed, and blood starts spurting out all the other holes of Sphere. The Dees paintings watch it all happen. And the next day, we're going to get Josephina calling Redora. And I just love the dazed sound of Josephina telling Redora everything that she's heard about with Gretchen. She's like, well, it was this morning. Yeah, somehow she got stuck inside of it. There's some kind of malfunction and it just took her arm off and she bled to death. It was horrible. The security guard said it was part of a new installation, so they just opened up and let people in. And then the Dees announcement was blasted. So they just it was swarmed. So many people were there. She says people just walked by and thought it was an exhibit. Then a school tour came along. The kids thought it was fake blood. So they started stepping in it and spreading it around. Who knows how long it would have gone for until Coco came in to do press for the Dees show. I love this. So, it's like everybody, even a crime could potentially be an art installation in this world. And, only the person who worked there was able to truly understand that this was some sort of a homicide, probably. I don't know how this would be a suicide. But yeah, the security guards thought it was part of a new installation. Yeah, I mean, anything can be art, I guess. Just like John Don Don thought the trash on Pierce's floor was art, so too a dead body. So we're going to see, we've actually been seeing, as Josephina has been talking through all of this, we actually see some of this scene playing out, and then we see Coco screaming because she has found yet another dead body. Redora's reeling at all this. She's like, what is happening? Bryson, John, Gretchen, all of this? Like, what's going on? But Josephina's like, whatever, like the Dees exhibit is so popular. It's booming right now. So Josephina's gonna go to get her door. Morph arrives and he's devastated. He just heard about Gretchen. He comes in, he hugs her, and uh-oh, Damriche is in her kitchen making breakfast with no shirt on. So Morph notices this. He's like, are you kidding me? You just said we're taking a break. And he looks at Damriche and he says, the admiration I had for your work has completely evaporated. I mean, talk about, like, I don't know, passive aggressive. Is that what's happening here? Damriche says, I thought you were done. She said you were done. Josephina was like, yeah, well, I was never particularly obsessed. Damriche goes, oof, as he's making some eggs. I think in that moment, he's actually crushing pepper into it. Morph leaves. He's furious. He's going to bring some Dees paintings out of his apartment. We're going to see Gretchen. He sees Gretchen on a bus, he thinks, but it might just be his eyes. Morph is going to go check out another exhibit pre-debut, and he's going to get the chance to experience this exhibit alone. So some other curator or gallery owner, he's going to shut the door so that Morph can experience this sound exhibit. And the second he shuts the door, Morph starts hearing voices, including his own, sharing quotes from his own negative critiques. And it escalates and it escalates and it becomes a cacophony, and there's screaming sounds, and Morph is crying and he can't take it anymore. And so he ends up like sort of cowering on the floor, and the owner of the gallery comes in. He's like, so sorry, there's been a delay. Just trying to work out some kinks with this. It'll start in a second. Morph is like, what was that I heard? He's like, I don't know, nothing. He's like, the voices. He's like, no, this exhibit is supposed to be like whale sounds. Stick around. It's about to start soon. Morph runs out. Morph says to Redora, I'm seeing things, I'm hearing things, something strange is happening. Like, seriously, I did some digging on this. What happened with Bryson? Like, what was in those crates that he was transporting? He's like, I think all of this has to do with Dees. The deaths are connected to that artwork. And he says, I found out that the building owners had received explicit instructions that Dees' art was meant to be destroyed. Stop selling Dees. Redora says no. Like, as compelling an argument of use as you've just made, no. She's like, I want to make money. Morph says, I'll write an article about this. Get rid of your stuff. I'm getting rid of my stuff. So now, instead, Redora is going to move as quickly as possible to offload more of her Dees paintings to buyers to make more money from it before Morph writes about it. So she's going to sell the stuff. Josephina needs to sell the stuff. She's talking to Josephina. She's like, I mean, you know, Morph thinks Dees' art is channeling a spirit. Josephina's like, what kind of spirit? Redora says, I don't know the varieties. Why are you asking that? What does it matter? Damriche is staring at Josephina's Dees, and he's like, did you know if you look at this long enough, it moves? I don't want anything to do with this. She wants to get rid of it. He's like, I think this is enough. He's going to invite her to go to a bar. He's going to break it off at the bar. He's just trying to get out of the Dees location first. Josephina is going to call Morph, and she's like, why are you doing all of this? Why are you about to pan Dees right before we make all this money on it? Morph is like, because anybody who profits from Dees art is in danger for their life. That's why. She's like, come on. So Morph is going to call Coco because she needs another assistant job because the people that hire her just keep dying. And so he says, okay, the task starts tonight. We can move art to a storage space. Just like, sure. So she's going to meet him to make sure that the job is secured. He's devastated. He's already posted the article. He's ruining his own reputation, but it's the right thing to do. He's like, there's a larger power invested in all this. Coco's like, you don't have to tell me. I found the bodies. If I don't, but listen, if I don't land a steady job soon, I'm going to have to move back to Michigan. So I'll take this job, whatever it is, and then we'll sort things out. Coco's like, by the way, I can be handy, right? I was Redora's assistant, and you should know that your ex, Ed, he worked for her. Like, no, you don't understand. Like, she paid Ed to give him to give her information, advanced word about what your good reviews were going to be, so she could buy up that stuff. Morph is like, so we don't have similar tastes. So she's just been getting intel. Oh, and Ed. All right. Josephina is going to go to this bar to meet up with Damriche. Damriche introduces her to Ben from the collective. He wants to leave Redora's. He wants to go and sell at the collective instead. So sorry. Josephine is like, no, we're just about to take you global. He's like, don't care. I want out. Josephina is going to go out to her car. This relationship is over. My, how quickly the relationships end in this movie. Josephina goes out to her car in the garage, and it's blocked in by another car. So while she's waiting for a tow truck, we're going to see things start to shift in the garage that she's in, or in the outdoor parking area that she's in. The space changes, so it's hard to say what it actually is. So Redora is at home. She's looking at a Dees, getting a little bit freaked out by it now. So she's going to go ahead and turn that over so she can't see the painting itself anymore. Not fully buying into it yet, but almost there. Josephina is unable to make a phone call. Something's up with her phone. And we're going to see that the garage, as she's standing in, starts to turn, the wall behind her starts to turn into like a full graffiti wall, which it was not all the way that before. And a door opens within it and exposes, it's now a gallery door with like, it's a glass opening door that reveals paintings on the inside. This was not what this looked like before. This is going to be a problem. Morph, meanwhile, we're going to get 2 kills simultaneously. Morph goes into a storage building with many storage units as Josephina goes inside the gallery. Morph gets into his storage unit and opens it, and he's going to put down some Dees paintings that he had as Josephina is in the gallery, and the paintings start to drip. The walls start to drip. All the paint's coming down and pooling on the floor, and it starts to move towards Josephina eerily. As Morph hears something outside the storage unit he is in, he looks and he sees Hobo Man, who was not there before. So he's going to go up and approach Hobo Man, and Hobo Man turns on. Meanwhile, Josephina is being attacked by the paint slowly. It's starting to crawl up her legs, starting to crawl up into her arms. She's not noticing it yet. She even goes to make a call to Redora because now her phone's actually working, so that's distracting her. And she's going to tell Redora all about Damrish. Redora is going to get distracted. She's hearing noises outside. She tries to get her cat outside, who's being hard to get. And so everybody's distracted by something. Meanwhile, Morph is being now chased by Hobo Man. Who tried to block him in. He got around him, and now he's running away from Hobo Man. Josephina can't run away from the paint because it's already starting to consume her. Redora almost gets killed by a big art piece outside in her yard. Hobo Man finally catches Morph and breaks his neck, repeating all the lines he said when he first met Morph. And then we're going to see Josephina is now covered with, smears of paint, drips of paint all up her body. We haven't seen exactly the end of Josephina yet, but we will see that Coco is about to find Morph in the storage unit. Poor thing, she's going to find another dead body. Redora is going to get a call about Morph, and she looks at the back of the Dees and she's like, oh my God, I have to get rid of these paintings. She can't reach Josephina because Josephina's phone is in her car and she's dead, but somebody's towing Josephina's car, and they pick up the phone. They're like, yeah, don't know where the owner is, but we've got the car. And as that car is wheeled out of the lot, we're going to see where Josephina is. The wall behind her is now a solid wall of graffiti, and she is painted into it. So cool. So we're going to see now, Redora's had enough of this. She's having workers come over and take out all of the Dees paintings from her home. She's meditating on a cliff. Coco is moving. She's had enough of this too. And she can't get enough work in this town to save her life or anybody else's for that matter. Redora is sitting in meditation with her cat, and we're going to see the velvet buzzsaw tattoo from her punk days on the back of her neck starts to bleed, starts to spin, and saws into her and kills her. So literally the art on her own body has killed her. Coco is taking a cab out of town, time to go back to Michigan. And as she's leaving, she sees that somebody on the street, not exactly a sidewalk artist, is selling Dees paintings, because I guess this is one of the people who found the Dees paintings that was in the back of Bryson's truck, and he's selling the paintings for $5. So, I mean, this stuff was making so much money in this exclusive set of people, and art has the value that you perceive the art to have, I guess. And so this guy thinks it's worth $5, and somebody's willing to pay that for it. So now it's worth $5. But either way, it's spreading a curse around town pretty fiercely. And we still need to catch up with one more person. The closing credits, we're going to see Pierce. He's at Redora's beach house, making circles in the sand. It's all a loop. It all comes back around. And that is Velvet Buzzsaw. I think this is such a cool film. I mean, look, it's definitely a message film. It has a thing to say, and maybe it feels like it beats you over the head with it, or maybe it feels like just the right amount. But I think it's the perfect world to put us in. There's so many really rich characters they were able to draw. The dialogue, there's so many really quotable lines. Even if nobody knows that you're quoting this film, they're fun to quote anyway. I've tried it. I feel like everybody who was an actor in this film really understood the assignment. They knew where the humor was. They knew where the serious stuff was, but it's mostly humor. The kills are so inventive. And again, because of the world they put this in, the art world, they could do just about any weird thing they wanted to and make it an art installation and make a really interesting, creative kill from it. So, when it comes to just like you're not gonna see kills like this in another film, that would be this one. I think it's just exactly what you're watching when you start to see some of these people being offed along the way. Yeah, I so enjoy this film, and the star-studded cast. Hopefully that brings eyeballs to it, but if not, you got to see it, right? You got this far. That's what I thought of this film. What did you think about this film? Let me know. I'd love your thoughts in the comments. Also, I could use this favor from you. Look, I've seen so many horror movies in my day that I am desensitized to them. I don't know how scary they are. So my scary meter is busted, but yours might not be. Please take out your scary meter and rate this one in terms of how scary you think it is from 1 to 10. 1 being not scary, 10 being so very scary, and anywhere in between. Let's see where this lands. And maybe that's how we recommend this to other people to see, based on their preferences as well. So that's this film. I hope that you'll join me for the next one that we're going to cover, which it's going to be day 20. We're going to talk about the movie Downrange from 2017. It's a sniper slasher film. And you may be thinking like, why this film? And I've got a reason, and I can't wait to talk about it. So I hope that you'll join me next time for Downrange. Happy EEKtober, everybody. Get spooky, get donuts.